Welcome to Our Planet, Our Future, a video podcast presented by Rainforest Partnership. Today, Niyanta Spelman is joined by Manuel Pulgar-Vidal, a former Minister of Environment of Peru and President of COP23 in Lima, Peru.
So, good evening. I wanted to just say thank you first because for you to make this time. My guest here is the Honorable Manuel Pulgar-Vidal, who I think is one of 5 or 6 people that was really responsible for first helping establish everything that happened, the foundation in Lima, and then helping us get the Paris Agreement happen. And now, of course, we're here in Bonn. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. And thank you for your kindly words. But really, it has been that we were able to create consensus in between different actors and different sectors.
That is true, but you're being kind and humble. But you were the Minister of Environment for Peru, and you were the COP president in Lima. And really, I felt watching sort of what was happening, and of course, I'm not inside, but just sort of in the periphery, right, as an observer delegate.
Yeah.
But watching how you were able to guide the process, because even when you have so much collaboration and so much help, somebody has to still help guide that. And I think you did that with your humility and your passion. And
thank you very much.
And so, what do you think now? You said earlier, you were happy, that you were pleased with where things were.
Yes, I am happy. I am used to being very optimistic because in my point of view, every action counts, every action because we are seeking for the same. We are looking for the same objective and we are working for the planet. But on the other hand, I am realistic. So let me make some reflection. The first one, it is, we have already gotten the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement, it is a really strong agreement, one of the most important in the history of the UN system. But now we are in a new time, and it is the time of implementation.
Yes.
And when we talk about implementation and raise ambition, that 2 words or 3 words sounds great, but are not empty words. Are words that need to be filled with some content. And the content, it is that still we do need to work strongly in defining more action that can fill the gap. We do know that we are not covering the gap. If we want to keep the 1.5, we are not doing enough things to do that. So what we expecting, it is to have more sectors working actively in reducing emissions and in trying to build adaptation clear measures. And on the other hand, fortunately, this COP, that in my point of view, it is the first COP in which we are really working in the implementation and that it is very well connected to the next COP, we do need to have a strong outcome. What kind of a strong outcome? First, we do need to have a clear design of the facilitative dialogue, currently called the Talanoa Dialogue.
Yes.
Why? Because the Talanoa Dialogue, it is not only a stock-take meeting, but also it is a dialogue in which we are going to explore how to enhance ambition and
Yes.
how to enhance NDCs. The second, it is that we do need to define at least the first draft negotiating text for the Paris Agreement. Because if we have the NDCs as the most important tool to raise ambition, what we do need to include, it is rules of transparency,
Yes.
openness, inclusiveness, report, and MRB. So the only way it is by defining these rules. And third, we need to request to developed countries to achieve what they had pledged before through what it is called the pre-2020 ambition. Because even though in this process we have separated the pre-2020 and the post-2020, it is sure the 2 pieces of the same. The 2 pieces of the climate change and the 2 pieces to get a better planet, a more sustainable planet, for the current generation and the next.
So are you one of the folks who's really optimistic that we will get at least to the 2-degree target, if not meet the ambition of 1.5?
I am optimistic on the 1.5. We should keep the 1.5.
Really? You're actually...
But for that, because again, I am realistic, we know that we have advanced a lot in renewable energies.
Yes.
Really in the energy sector, because it is not just renewable energy, it is energy efficiency and access to energy. Because the renewable energy has shown are able to create more faster employment than the traditional fossil fuels. The energy efficiency has developed a great opportunity as for the Kigali Amendment of the Montreal Protocol to reduce HFCs emission. And in case of the universal access to energy, we can combine our efforts to combat poverty and to achieve the SDGs related to poverty, but by also creating clean energy to the poorest people. So the idea it is to engage and to align that to objective. That in sense of energy. The cities has already shown that they are working strongly in defining a clear deadline for 2020, because 2020 it is a time in which we should peak the emission if we want to keep the promise of Paris. Even though, for example, in electric vehicles, the rate in comparison with the fossil fuels engine vehicles are not too much, the rate of growing of electric vehicle, it is amazing.
Yes.
So we should continue working on that. And also for that, in case of developing countries, as in Peru, I am Peruvian by origin, what we do need it is to try to see what are limit us to introduce electric vehicles. It is contracts, law, fees,
so all the sort of
taxes,
legal frameworks
what
and
are
all the
political
aspects.
But let me say something, because you are for rainforest.
I was going to say, yes.
I think that in the case of the rainforest, the forest as a sector, even though we had already gotten a strong targets and good challenges, we are not necessarily we are on track, but we are not achieving what we had expected to be achieved today. And it is not only related to forests as a sector, it is related to land, because it is related to degradation and restoration, it is related to agricultural activities,
and that's the harder part,
related to commodities. But fortunately, the land sector has gained traction. And I think this is the time and the opportunity for the land sector that includes forestry. So I hope that we can define ways to motivate, to mobilize more clear action in the land sector that can make us able to say in some years that we are really have already accelerate our strong action toward the same objective.
So do you think we'll have more finance for the forest sector perhaps? Because this was yesterday discussed.
Yeah, I think that the finance has shown to be active on forest. There are countries, donors countries, as Norway, UK, or Germany, that are putting money for the forestry sector. Also now, there are some new initiatives to define ways to putting some investment to support the risk of investment in forest. So there are new funds that are related to that. So sure, we do need to have more funds. That's true. But in finance, the world have shown that it is on track to mobilize money. And that's good. Also, we have already defined the targets and the challenges. But what it is limiting us to achieve that target? It could be an issue of governance.
Again, it's the same thing.
It's an issue of governance. It could be an issue of land titling.
Yes.
Because sometimes the lack of titles are creating like an empty hole in which the legal activities are used to being through. No? So that is something. It could be an issue of jurisdiction, because as you know, in many countries, the differences in between the local government, the regional or state government, and the national government are not very clear who should be in charge of.
Right.
No? It could
and
be...
of course, enforcement issues as well.
Enforcement, so all what it is related to the coercive role of the government to pull out illegal mining, illegal logging, and that kind of thing. It could be poverty, because, for example, in case of Peru, the most important source of deforestation, it is not the legal mining or the legal logging. It is the migratory agriculture of people who are used to migrating from the poorest places of the Andes to the Amazon. No?
Yes.
So what we do need is to create incentives in the Andes. That is the example of Peru.
Yes.
It could be different in some other part of the world. To have the people keep them with employment alternatives,
wherever they
resources.
Are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if not, we are going to continue having this pressure into the rainforest.
And what do you think of the role of indigenous peoples in Peru? Of
sure.
course, that's who we work with.
Sure. And it is not just an issue of markets.
Yes.
It is an issue of culture.
Yes.
It is an issue of how much we have already learned and how much we can continue learning on what the indigenous people are doing.
Yes.
Because the indigenous people have shown to us that they have already developed ways to be adapted.
Yes.
And that's good. But on the other hand, I think that we should continue working to them to have them looking the value of the forest. So it is the two sides,
yes.
to learn and to share.
Yes.
Because we can learn of them and also we can share with them experience to give to them more tools to have the forest an important mechanism for their own development based on their own decisions.
Well, do you miss being Minister of Environment
No,
of Peru?
you know that everybody has their time for doing things. I feel that I have put all my effort to do the best. I cannot judge myself. It is the people who can judge
yes.
myself. But I feel relaxed that I have really put all my effort.
You did a wonderful job, not just at SPDA, but also
thank you
at
very
the
much.
ministry as
but
well.
But it is the people. You know that when I was appointed, I remember when I was invited to be minister by the president, the former president of Peru, one day before of the sword, because in Peru you need to sword, I went out of my house and walked 6 blocks to some place, and I started to saw the people crossing to me in the streets, and I thought, for them,
this is why you were doing this.
Yes. So it is the people who don't know who you are.
Yes.
But if you are an authority, you are working for them, not for you, not for your development, professional development. It is for the people.
And I think you carried that throughout your tenure as minister, and you kept your humility, which I think is really admirable. And more people should follow that example. And I think the fact that you are here and continuing to play that role for the sake of our planet and for doing something about climate change, I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I remember that many years ago, I think that before I being appointed as minister, I heard somebody saying, if you want to know how much you have worked for a better planet, just put in the front of a mirror and ask yourself how much you have done.
Yes.
And how much you have done for your children or for the kids and for the next generation. And that is a strong question to make you continue working for the same.
Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you very much.
I hope you have a wonderful, successful rest of the COP.
Thank you. Even though it is a rush time in which everybody is used to being very tired, but I think it is a good effort to keep our optimism and to achieve what we are seeking.
I think it always, in the history of our planet, it's taken a few people to come together to lead. And here, I think that the numbers are growing of the number of people who want to do something about this very big issue of climate change.
And let me say, this is my last idea, that we are here in a COP and you can see a lot of activity, movement, action, and people mobilizing things. But after that, we are going back to our countries. And we should transmit to the people in a very simple way what we are working on. So it is not the Talanoa dialogue, that is a name.
Right.
It is that we do need to work more strongly on ground to get what we had put as a pledge or as an objective. So it is to say to the people, you are also an actor to do that, or to say to the authority, we can work together. So sometimes I'm used to saying, sometimes we are used to being gypsies,
Yes.
reading our own hands in our own tent. No, we do need to leave our comfort zone, and we do need to transmit to the people a more simple message to mobilize their action.
That's a wonderful message. And I hope actually that this video podcast we will use to actually spread that message. And then we'll get your help about trying to establish World Rainforest Day, which is one of those global actions that we want people all over the world
No,
to take.
I am a believer that the rainforest deserve to have their day, but as a symbol. Because the idea of that symbol, it is to create awareness that we must continue working daily in protect the rainforest.
And that day is, you lead up to that day when you celebrate why forests are important, and then you actually energize and activate even more people, and then you celebrate, you activate, then you go back every day for the rest of us to do what we're doing, and then come back, and that's the idea for World Rainforest Day.
Fully agree.
Yes. Well,
So thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.